Thank you very much for your time and your patience waiting for me. I had some technical difficulties getting in. My name is Lung Su. I am an admissions officer for University of Nicosia Medical School, and now we also have the University of Nicosia School of Veterinary Medicine. All right, that's a separate web page and a separate website, but I'm here to tell you more about both. Okay, so the way this platform works is that I cannot see your questions, but yet at the same time, I want to be sure that you don't forget your questions. So if you have a question as I'm going along, please feel free to just ask your question in your chat box so that you don't lose that thought. Okay. At the end of towards the end of the session, I'll come back and then I will address your questions as much as possible if I did not cover them in my presentation. All right. My name again, Lung Su. I'm based in Chicago for University of Nicosia Medical School. I've been doing admissions advising now for 7 years. The University of Nicosia Medical School is the largest English speaking university and medical school in Southern Europe. Okay. Nicosia is in the capital city of Cyprus, and Cyprus is a member of the European Union. And 2 to 3 years ago, Cyprus was listed by the World Health Organization as one of the safest countries in the world for young people. Right, so even though it's far away from Canada, it's actually a very, very welcoming and very safe place. I myself have visited Cyprus twice. Okay, in as my job calls for, and I can confidently report to you that Cyprus is indeed, even though the place is very small, it's a very globally diverse school, and the Cypriots are fluently bilingual. So English is widely spoken throughout the entire country of Cyprus. Now, so we offer these two programs. These are the two programs I want to highlight the most because these are the ones that are the most interesting of all. We actually also offer, as you can see from my screen, I'm pulling down a menu. We also have some master's programs here, but the 6 year MD degree program and the veterinary program are the most interesting for Canadians. We also have a graduate entry degree MD program for those who are working towards or have earned a bachelor's degree or master's degree, and also want to apply to medical school for the graduate entry program. Okay, so you can do this searching on your own, but please note our website address, which is also on our program information that you can come back to later. So don't worry that if you don't catch it right now. But I think what's most important for you right now is that I quickly navigate you through some of the important information that you would probably want to know about the medical school and also the program. All right. So you can read more about the medical school at a glance, our mission. So, say for example, the University of Nicosia Medical School, as we started delivering medical programs in 2010, and we did so by first offering and delivering a British MBBS degree program from the UK, from St George's University of London. And through the experience of delivering a British program, we have developed competencies in being able to meet students' needs and knowing what students need to be successful in their medical pathways towards their medical careers. Okay, so this is the medical school. You can read more about it. Oh, very important here. We have an upcoming series called Open Day for information sessions, and I would encourage you, if you're really interested, after my presentation, to join us for our virtual information session on November 29th. Okay, it's 5 p.m. Eastern Europe time, so that would be 10 a.m. That would be equivalent to 10 a.m. Eastern time here in North America. All right. There are also other virtual information sessions further down on the calendar, but this is where you would go to um, to register for the session if you're interested. But first of all, if you're really interested, you have any questions today or over the next couple of days, just feel free to send me an email, all right? And let me answer a few basic questions for you first. Okay, so this is where we can access the information for the 6-year MD degree program. The 6-year MD degree program is actually a post-secondary, in other words, undergraduate entry degree program. It is 6 years long. It would first thing to note, I'm sure you can do the math. That means that you can. This is primarily for those who are applying directly after high school. So if you're in 10th grade, 11th grade, or even 12th grade this year, please consider this seriously. Okay, so once you reach this 6-year MD degree web page, the landing page, which is this one, okay, you have to scroll down, all right, to reveal the additional links here under this maroon banner. Okay, here you'll find more information to the introducing this program, the profile, and you can read more about it. It's a lot of information, very chunky, but it makes for good bedtime reading. Okay, okay. The curriculum here also will describe the curriculum in further detail, but structure is where it becomes a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. So if you come to this page later, be sure to scroll all the way down. So tells you the first 3 years are basic medical sciences, and then you have integrated studies. In years 5 and 6 are the clinical studies, which are also the clinical rotations. All right, important point I want to make here. If you are a Canadian citizen or resident, you can join the U.S. students and and do your clinical rotations for years 5 and year 6. Those are the last 2 years in Chicago. We only have we have a partner. We have formed a very secure partnership with the Chicago hospital. We've had this partnership now for over 5 years, and this is an opportunity. The clinical rotation opportunity in Chicago is available only for Canadian and US citizens and residents. Okay, so keep that in mind as you consider our program and other programs. But semester breakdown is where you can see, if you like to see what our students are learning in each semester in every year, this is where you can drill down. And speaking of drilling down, you can actually drill all the way down to the description of the courses right here. If you tap it, it will open a PDF, and that will show you. And basically, this is the syllabus and the course description. All right, including even the textbooks. Okay, so okay, I have to go back. All right, so this is a 6-year program. So we are still back here, the 6-year program. So the other information that I think is most important to you right now is our emissions requirements. So keep in mind, I'm going to quickly repeat. You have to access this web page, go to our website, and then pull down the menu under education, 6-year MD degree, and then scroll down and select admissions. Okay, emissions requirements. It doesn't say very much because it's written in a very generalized language. You, for the most part, I assume I'm speaking to a bunch of Canadians. Canada, even though it's a very geographically very big country, but it's very complex. Every province has different requirements. Okay, but essentially, if I'm going to use Ontario as an example, okay, for Ontario, for applicants from Ontario, okay, it's not stated here, but we basically require 5 4U or 4M subjects. Okay, 5 4U or 4M subjects, which is pretty much standard, as you probably know. But of these 5 subjects, the first subject that is the most important to us, as you probably guessed rightly in your mind right now, is biology. Okay, we need to see at least an 80% score in biology in your final year, 12th grade. Okay, we need at least an 80% in biology, and we also need a second subject, which could be chemistry or physics or an advanced math class. All right, so biology plus chemistry or physics or math, and these two subjects must be at least 80%. And then your overall five subjects should also be 80% as well. Okay, I hope this is straightforward for you, for those people from Ontario. Now, I'm just going to quickly flip over to the veterinary site. Basically, we have the same admissions requirements for our veterinary medicine DVM program. The only difference essentially is that rather than biology, believe it or not, the first subject we're going to look at is chemistry. So you need to have at least a 80% to score at least an 80% in chemistry at, which is clearly 4U or 4M at for Ontario, um, at 80%. And the second subject, in this case, the second subject could be biology or physics or math. All right. Okay. So this is where the emissions requirements are. Again, sticking to Canada, if you, regardless of where you come from in Canada, okay, Ontario is largely an English speaking province, but we would still require applicants from English speaking provinces, English speaking schools, to verify that your curriculum is conducted and your grades are earned entirely in the English curriculum, in the English language. All right. But basically, the English language requirements as listed here will not apply to those who have earned who have undergone a curriculum conducted in English. Now, our interview. Okay, once let's say, okay, very quickly, for those of you who are currently in 12th grade, okay, I know that in Canada, your mid-year exams will take place in the middle to towards the end of January. So once you have those grades and the results from your January exams, and that will come out in probably the first week of February. Um, if you meet our requirements, then we will be able to qualify you for an interview. The interview is conducted over Zoom, so it's virtual interview. I will be if I were your advisor, then I'll be conducting the interview for you. Okay, I'll be recording the interview and then forwarding it to the admissions committee for their assessment and review. Okay, so that's the interview. All right. And then, speaking of those who are in 12th grade now, but if you're in 11th grade or 10th grade, then the same pretty much the same timeline will apply for you. Okay, mid-year exams will take place towards the end of January. You get your results, and as soon as you get your results, you can forward it for a review. And if you do qualify with your predicted results, then we can offer you the interview. Okay, so tuition. Okay, this is the last tab here under the maroon banner. It's pretty much self-explanatory, but essentially, annual tuition is 18,000 euros for each one of the first 3 years. So I know it's pretty much self-explanatory, but invariably we still get questions. Does it mean it's 18,000 for the first 3 years? And actually, the missing word is 18,000 euros for each of the first 3 years. So 18,000 euros times three, and then where it says here 22,000 euros for the final 3 years, it's yes, that is the correct number for each of the final 3 years for those who are remaining in Cyprus, right? But if you opt to come to Chicago for clinical rotations, then it would be the tuition would go up to 30,000 euros for years 5 and years 6. So it would be 18,000 euros times three for the first 3 years, plus 22,000 euros for the year 4, plus 30,000 euros times two for years 5 and 6. All right. Cost of living in Nicosia in Cyprus is actually very, very reasonable. This is Southern Europe, it's not Sweden or Switzerland, and it is very, very reasonable. We essentially tell students to plan for about, I would say, between 10 and 15,000 US dollars per year. Now that obviously depends on your life, the individual's life choice of lifestyle and standard of living, and so forth, and those are the variable factors, understandably. Here's a schedule of our fees and also financial assistance. Okay, it doesn't say very much, but let me tell you now. The thing you need to know is that we offer financial need scholarship, which is which can cover up to 20% of the tuition costs. So how this works is that after an applicant becomes a candidate, goes through the application process, is interviewed, holds an offer, then that candidate is eligible to apply for financial aid scholarship, demonstrated financial aid scholarship, which can cover up to a maximum of 20% of the tuition costs. And once that financial aid scholarship is awarded for the first year, it basically carries through throughout the entire duration of the program. Okay, and when you do the math, when you multiply it by 6 years, it's substantial. It is more than substantial. Okay, so now, on this web page too, I think it's very, very it, I was looking for it the other day. You can find the research here, more on research, the library resources, and student life. I think student life here it contains quite a lot of good information. If you want to learn more about Cyprus, living in Nicosia, housing information, we have our student affairs office will actually help new enrolling students with housing. We before that point too, we will also help. We will facilitate in a direct manner with the student visa application process. Right, so new students are not you're not left to do this on your own. It can be a little bit complicated. All right, so this is where you can find out more about visa information. But essentially, what I want you to know is that the medical school we have a dedicated visa manager who will walk you through and literally hold your virtual hand. All right. This is where so you can find the student service center, a description of what the student service center does, and so forth. Now, before we run out of time, I want to quickly tell you here in this tab under education. No, sorry. Uh, I see. Okay, here it is. It's hidden here. Right. Let me move this aside. Career outcomes. All right. So remember I said at the very beginning, the medical school, University of Nicosia, we first started this medical school by offering the 4-year MBBS degree program. Okay. But we are no longer offering that. Even though we are delivering it, but we are no longer accepting applications because the partnership will end come 2024. But the important thing I wanted to show you is that under this tab here in education, you can also find career outcomes. This is one of the first questions that you and your parents will ask, like how will you be able to get back to work in Canada or US or UK or anywhere else of your. By the way, I mentioned UK because Canadians are full members of the British Commonwealth. So your career, so a medical student's career pathway could be back to Canada, of course, to the UK, or even to the US. All right. Now, I want to say one thing about Canada because it's the foremost thought on everybody's minds. It You probably have heard, but you haven't heard, do your due diligence. It is very hard to get into medical school in Canada because in all the provinces combined, I believe there are only about 13 or 14 medical schools. So it is intensely competitive. But our 6-year program gives you a more direct pathway to earn a medical degree. Earning a medical degree is not the same as being a licensed, being a qualified doctor is very similar, but is not exactly the same as being a licensed doctor. When you go through medical school and you matriculate through medical school, you will earn a medical degree. But along the same parallel pathway, you have to be preparing and writing the licensing exams, the exams administered by the MCC, the Medical Council of Canada, which are referring to the QE1 and the QE2. In the US, we have the USMLE Step 1 and Step 2 and so forth. Okay, but before I want to tell you, so here, career outcomes. On this web page, it will show you where our graduates have placed. Now, keep in mind, these are largely a list of the hospitals where graduates from the MBBS graduate entry program from St. George's University of London, but they are actually St. George's University of London medical graduates, but they earn their medical degree through the University of Nicosia Medical School. But this is where you can see where they have placed in Canada, and this is also where you can find out where they have placed in the USA and even in the UK Foundation program. Okay, so I just want to let you know where you can find this information so you can also look for it for yourselves later and ask me questions. Again, remember to save my email address and save my phone number. Again, this is Lung Su. I'm in Chicago. Do not call me. Send me a text message and I will let me call you back because I have an unlimited calling plan here in Chicago. Okay, we're running out of time, but I'm going to quickly hop over to the vet program. This is a brand new program because we know because the University of Nicosia recognizes that there's really also a huge pent-up demand for veterinary medicine studies. Okay, in all of Canada there are only 5 DVM programs. DVM is not the same as a vet tech program and so forth. This is a doctor of veterinary medicine program. It's brand new, but it is it we because Cyprus is a member of the European Union, we have to ensure all our programs and our degrees are accredited by the Education Ministry in Cyprus, which has to be in line with the entire EU standards. Okay, but you can read more about the vet school programs here. The admissions requirements are here as well, including the financial information, which is in other words, the tuition and visa information. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing so that I can quickly read through the questions. All right, let's see where I can find that. Okay. Um, all right. Priya, who is my co-host, I think it is it hard to get into the DVM program? Olivia, thank you for the question. It Yes and no. Okay. Essentially, as long as you meet our requirements, okay, our requirements are if you were here earlier, you'll know that the first subject we're going to look at is chemistry. You must you must score at least 80% for chemistry at the 4U or 4M level. It's 4U, obviously, and also a second subject, which could be so chemistry is the first one, 80% and above, and the second subject we're going to look at is biology or physics or mathematics. So you need at least two 4U or 4M subjects at the 80 level, 80 percentile and above. All right. Okay. I think that's the only question I see, unless I've missed others. Um, Priya, is my time up and do I have to go now?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so there's still a couple minutes left. So if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. If you don't have any right now, but have anything that comes up later, I believe, Loon, you'll be here for the rest of the fair.
Yes, I'll be here for the rest of the fair. And could you just quickly tell, I don't know let me see if there's still viewers here, viewers where they can access information after the fair is over.
Yeah, so the fair will be like the event platform will still be open even after the fair is over. So you can always come back and visit the booth and get access to the recordings of the presentation, as well as any of the documents at Nicosia's booth.
Oh, terrific. I didn't know. This session, which is being recorded, will be accessible for indefinitely?
It'll be open for at least the next like month or so.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you again very much for your time. We're doing a quick countdown to the end of the session. Again, I appreciate your attention and your time, and I hope that you'll have questions. And go to our website. We have the upcoming open day information session series coming up. But most of all, I'm in Chicago, so feel free to just send me an email or just send me a text message so that I can call you right back. Okay. All right. There's another. Okay. One quick question here about Canadian visas for Cyprus. Yes, the yes, as I mentioned earlier, the first thing I want you to know is yes, student visas will be required for those who are holding only Canadian passports. But Canada is a very, very international country. When I say international, what I mean is that I do know that many Canadians hold more than one passport. If you hold if those of you holding an EU passport, then you will not obviously need to apply for a student visa for the University of Nicosia. All right. So, but the important thing is that if you do need to apply for a student visa, our visa manager, who is a member of the student service center, he will help you. He will hold your hand, he will tell you, he will push you, he will nudge you, and all the documents for the visa application will be sent to him, and he will personally walk them to the visa application office. So our new students are not going to be left alone. All right. I hope that answers your question. um are there any advantages for residency in the states? The first advantage I'll tell you is that it's going to be way easier. All right. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. When I said earlier that there are only 13 or 14 medical schools in all of Canada, it is very, very difficult to get a medical school in Canada. It will be even more difficult to get a direct residency, a Canadian residency directly after med school. Difficult is not impossible. Okay. Very, very challenging is not impossible. Um, it is possible. Our careers office will tell you more about it. But essentially, there's so many. Um, Essentially, what I've learned is that for an IMG, International Medical Graduate, or an IMS, International Medical Student, I say International Medical Student because the residency application process actually begins in med school. All right, it begins with the MCC exams, the QE1 and the QE2. Those are the very first steps of the residency application process. So the exam scores, there are clinical electives, there are letters of recommendation. So it's not, there are several parameters that are that are all very, very important. But the reality is that the number of residency spots in Canada are fixed. Okay. And the vast majority of those will go to the Canadian grads, and rightfully so, because the provincial government and the federal government has invested 4 years into educating and training those medical students. So it kind of makes sense that they get first priority. But again, it is not impossible. Now, you also mentioned the US. Yes, in my opinion, it is way easier, because if you're interested enough, you can try to look for residency, um, residents list, the list of rosters, of the residents, and the list oftentimes not oftentimes will show you where those residents graduated from. And I've seen a good number of residency programs here in the US where they have engaged graduates from not only Canada, but from Mexico, Ecuador, Thailand, Nepal, India. The fact remains is that there are many doctors practicing in the US and in Canada who have earned their medical degrees abroad. Okay, so again, I want to stress it is very, very difficult, but it's not impossible. It really depends on the student, the graduate, the IMG, and essentially the application profile of any one individual. Okay. All right. I think I see that as the last question that I have. Priya, feel free to give us a countdown. And I wish everybody well, all the very best. Please contact me if you have any questions. Thank you again.